Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the main rivals of the French, the British and their East India Company. I'm going to be covering the topic of the British East India Company over the span of two videos, and this video will also be split into two parts, the East India Company in India and the Battle of Plassey. Even though I'm using the anglicized word in the captions and in the video, I will use the actual pronunciation of the word. The East India Company in India. The first factory of the British East India Company (EIC) in Bengal was set up on the bank of the river Hooghly in 1651. This was the place from where the traders of the company used to trade. The factory had a warehouse and offices there as well. As trade flourished, the company drew traders who settled near the factory. By 1696, the company had built fortifications around their factory and settlement. In 1698, the company bribed Mughal officials into giving the East India Company land rights over three villages. One of them was named Kalikata, which, if sounds familiar, becomes Calcutta and now the modern day city of Kolkata. The company was also able to persuade the Mughal emperor at the time, Aurangzeb, to issue a royal decree to duty-free trade, which reminds me of the time when Voldemort persuaded Harry to bow before the duel at the end of the Goblet of Fire. The East India Company continuously tried to get more and more trade concessions and tried to manipulate existing privileges. For instance, the East India Company only had duty-free trade, but the company's officials who did side trade were required to pay taxes, but they refused. This was one of the ways in which the company tried to undermine the authority of the Nawabs of Bengal and of the Mughal emperor. After the death of Emperor Aurangzeb in 1707, the Nawabs, including the Nawab of Bengal, gained more power and authority. The Nawab of Bengal during the time of Aurangzeb was Musharid Quli Khan. He was succeeded by his son Ali Vardi Khan, who was succeeded by his son Siraj-ud-Daulah. They were powerful independent rulers who refused to grant the East India Company concessions. They demanded tributes from the company in order for them to trade. When the company asked for the right to mint their own coins, they were denied. They also prevented the company from extending its fortifications. The Nawab stated that the East India Company was not giving enough taxes and was undermining the authority of the Nawab. The East India Company was doing the following: not paying taxes, writing disrespectful letters to the Nawab, and humiliating him in other ways as well. The company claimed that the unjust demands of the Nawab were ruining trade and it would only flourish if the duties were removed. Because a country can totally run without taxes because the king has a golden touch. I know, right? The company, for some strange reason, believed that expanding trade would only be achieved if settlements were enlarged and villages were bought. These conflicts and conflicts of interest led to the infamous Battle of Plassey. The Battle of Plassey. Siraj-ud-Daulah became the Nawab of Bengal in 1756. The East India Company, who wanted a weak puppet ruler who would give trade concessions, did not want a powerful ruler. So they did what was natural, meddling in the political affairs of a place for financial gain. In this case, they tried to make one of Siraj-ud-Daulah's rivals the Nawab. This infuriated Siraj-ud-Daulah, who told the company to stop meddling, stop building more fortifications, and start paying the revenue, which the company blatantly ignored. Negotiations were held but failed. The Nawab, with around 30,000 soldiers, marched to the East India Company's factory in Qasim Bazar and arrested the officials, locked down the warehouses, disarmed the English, and blockaded English ships. Then he marched on to Kolkata 200 kilometers south of Kazim Bazar and took over the East India Company's fort there as well. By this time, the company had already established a base in Madras, now Chennai, and also had a base in Bombay, now Mumbai as well. The East India Company officials, after hearing news of the fall of Kolkata, sent forces under the command of Robert Clive, who was backed by the East India Company's naval forces. Even more negotiations took place. This all led up to the 23rd of June 1757, the actual Battle of Plassey. Siraj-ud-Daulah commanded about 50,000 men, of which 16,000 were cavalry. He had also got 50 cannons. Clive, on the other hand, had 3,000 men and only 10 cannons. But one of Siraj-ud-Daulah's commanders, Mir Jafar, did not fight, and not because he wanted peace. No, he did this because he had been promised to be made the Nawab after the British defeated Siraj-ud-Daulah and his commanders. Even after all that, it looked like it was going to be a stalemate. And then came the rain. The British covered their gunpowder with a tarp, while the Nawab's forces did not, and their gunpowder was rendered useless. As you may have guessed, Siraj-ud-Daulah lost and had to flee. Many believe that this was one of the most eventful battles of the time period, as this was the battle which allowed the British East India Company to gain significant land in India. Next time on Twice as Curious, we shall talk about the British East India Company from the Battle of Plassey onwards up to the First Indian War of Independence in 1857. Thanks for watching, and remember to stay twice as curious.